What's up, Rumors Are True podcast? This is Joey Svensson. You may remember me from Bad Christian or Pastor with No Answers podcast, and I've got some pretty killer news. Me, my brother Jared, and your favorite podcast host, Jeremy Gould, the one delivering to you the episode you're about to listen to, started Roster Music Club. In the last 3 months, club members have enjoyed 6 online performances by some of the very artists you and I love, including Gyro from Mortal, Bill from The Throws, and Ted from Craig's Brother. We've had a couple of hangouts, have established our club's top 10 tooth and nail albums, and we started a war. That's EP Wars, 16 of the greatest EPs going head-to-head in a tournament until we crown the victor. We've been supplying curated playlists. There's a private podcast feed with extra content, and videos of everything that's ever happened in the club is yours when you join. In upcoming months, we're doing a deep dive on all things Radiohead, and as I speak, 3 musicians are listening to the club's top 10 tooth and nail releases, albums we've enjoyed for 30 years. These artists that I rounded up, they're listening to these albums for the very first time, and I can't wait to hear how they react. The Starflyer 59 Silver, Living Sacrifice Reborn, Life in General by MXPX. Hearing these albums for the first time. So we're going to talk to them for a live event, and it'll be released on the Roster Music podcast that you should be listening to if you like this podcast. Hey, the club is free to try for a month, then $10 a month from there on out. And I'll tell you this, not a club member has left since joining, so it's worth every penny. Support the club and this show by joining with this code.
RUMORS. That spells rumors.
Hey, we can't wait to see you there. Rostermusic.club. Go there now and join.
Hi, this is Wayne Everett, and you're listening to the Rumors Are True podcast. Julie Christie, the rumors are true.
Welcome, this is Jeremy Alan Gould, and I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that the rumors you have all heard are true. I started this podcast to have a platform for the bands and artists that I've worked with in the past, as well as new musicians and artists that influenced myself and many others. The Rumors Are True podcast is an opportunity for the artists to tell their story their way. I'm still in the business of confirming rumors. I still love a good conversation, and I still freaking love music. So thanks again for joining me on this journey, and I hope you like what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true.
My halo's broken, falling down, all around my toes, and I feel the only way for me to get it back above my head is take a hold, throw myself in, cover me up, tell every fair weather friend I can't think of it's gonna be great, so go away. It's been justified, just as if I'd never seen it all.
Hey, welcome to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy. Today, I welcome Jeremy Post. You know Jeremy from the bands Black Eyed Sceva and Model Engine. Awesome conversation with Jeremy. So stoked and honored to have him on this podcast to bring me through his journey of music and what he's got going on in his life currently. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode with Jeremy Post.
Since being justified, it's just as if I'd never seen it all.
Jeremy, what is up, my friend? Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, and you're doing a great job with it. I listened to a couple episodes over the last 6 months or so that were sent to me, so you have a bit of a following. People were like, hey, check this out.
That's
so
awesome.
That cool.
That's so cool and encouraging. I really appreciate those kind words. It's amazing. It was cool. You and I got to meet a couple months ago in in Costa Mesa at TomCon. And it was such a pleasure to meet you. And I got to be on your panel, which was really cool experience for me.
You did a great job.
Thank you. I was so nervous. Dude, it's so different than doing this in your home and then getting up in front of people. Yeah. Dude, it was.
And you're all the way on the other side of the country. Yes. You know, you're out of you did a great job.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It really means a lot. Tell me what's going on in your world, Jeremy. What's new in your world? What's current in your world?
Just, you know, my life is work, still music is part of every day. Super involved with volunteer stuff. I have a great church that I go to that has some really great volunteer opportunities in the community. So I'm thankful that I've been part of that for many years. And yeah, that's about it.
That's awesome. And what area of California are you in?
I'm in the north part of San Diego. So San Diego is a pretty long. It's a big county, sure. And I'm in when you're local in San Diego, where I live, you call it North County.
Yes. I've been there one time. I want to. Was there a venue there called the Casbah or the?
Yep, that's super famous venue. That's closer to downtown San Diego, where I used to live when I first moved down here. That's a great. Yeah, I mean, just legendary location.
Absolutely.
And then where I live is most famous for Legoland.
Oh, okay.
So anybody with kids is like, oh yeah, I know where that is.
There's a Legoland here in Florida too, I think, down in Orlando.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that. Yeah, it's a beautiful area. I was there on a tour with a band and we played there, and man, the food was great down there. Weather is incredible. And yeah, in fact, it seems like a lot of people, and I live in Jacksonville, and a lot of people come from San Diego in the military over to Jacksonville a lot. So they're always talking about San Diego.
Huge. Yeah. Cause we have Camp Pendleton, near my house. So we just have this wonderful population of Marines.
Yeah.
Active duty, retired. I mean, this town is so full of, thousands and thousands of veterans, and it's just a really nice thing to have. It's a great place to live, and those people make great neighbors.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that. That's sweet. So let's talk about growing up for you, Jeremy. Kind of bring me through some of those bands, some of those records, some of those influences that kind of pushed you in the direction you went in.
Yeah, I grew up in Ventura, California, which is on the coast, just a couple hours north of San Diego, and it had a really great local music scene. So from the time I was probably 12 years old, 10 years old, my mom was a waitress at a cool restaurant in Ventura, and like the busboys and the waiters would be in bands, you know, when they weren't working, and they would turn. My mom's really good with music anyway. My mom's super hip with music, but she would be around these people that were in local bands, and she'd come home from work with like a cassette or something like that. I just always had cool music to listen to. So I started playing in bands when I was 14 and started playing clubs when I was 15. And you just had this environment that I don't know anywhere in the country that has that, where 15-year-old kids can be playing in a bar, and we get kicked out after the show. You know, we could go play and then they kick us out. I just don't see that. If I go to a restaurant or a bar these days, I don't see some high school kids playing original music or any music in there. So it was a really great environment to be able to express yourself through music.
What particular record or records did you go, oh, that's the one, or what?
Yeah, it was all. So I was a teenager in the 80s, and my world kind of revolved around the Minneapolis music scene. Other than the local scene, we had great local bands that were very inspirational, but the Replacements and Husker Du were that was just my whole life back then. And to this day, I still listen to that stuff all the time.
Bob Mould, great songwriter.
Yeah. I always say that when people say who, you know, if you could play guitar like anybody, who would it be? I always say Bob Mould. And I was fortunate to see him several times when he was solo in the beginning, like way back in the day. And I still can't believe I got to see some of these shows. I got to see him solo acoustic at UC Santa Barbara, when he literally, after the show, we went and said hi to him, and he was putting his guitar in the back of his like Toyota Corolla rental car. You know, it's like, I can't believe we had that experience.
That's awesome.
It was, and speaking of Bob Mould, I have never seen somebody, he's not necessarily an acoustic player.
Sure.
And I've seen him play acoustically back in the day. And it was one of the most mesmerizing shows I've ever seen, just him with a guitar, because of just his passion for music. I mean, it was a really wonderful thing.
That's awesome, man. Well, obviously you mentioned getting into those bands. When did you start to pick up an instrument and realize, hey, I have a penchant for this, and maybe even songwriting at an early age?
Yeah, that was when I was 14. That's kind of when it started to click, and I started to write songs. So, I had a band in high school when I was 14, 15, 16, and then I started playing with older guys. So when I started, it was just a bunch of 14-year-olds, and we were playing 3-chord punk rock. I think we would cover like Dead Milkmen songs or something. It'd have like three chords.
Yeah.
And then I started to hit my stride more when I was probably 16, 17, and I was in a band. All the guys were older than I was, and the singer and the songwriter for that band I'm still friends with him to this day, and he's probably the best lyricist professionally or that I've ever met in my life. That's awesome. I can think of. The guy's probably the best lyrical writer that I can think of in all of music. So I got to be with him for several years and kind of learn about how to write a lyric.
That's cool. What's his name?
Yeah. Russ Cunningham.
Oh, cool. Very
cool.
I
mean, he's nobody you've ever heard of.
Hey, but you have the influence,
man.
Man.
School teacher.
That's really cool. It's cool how.
But he really, yes, he really helped me. He was my senior year of high school in English. I got straight A's because he was the teacher's aide. So he was an English major, so he helped me with writing and that stuff.
That's cool.
My GPA was a little higher my senior year because I had friends in high places.
That's awesome. Well, you mentioned some of those bands. What were some of those early bands, predecessor to Black Eyed Sceva? What were some of those bands?
Yeah, so in high school, early years, we had a band called Over 4 High because somebody worked in a warehouse and there was a sign that said, "Do not stack over 4 high." So that was that band. And we play like the high school talent show, and we play clubs. But none of us could drive, so we'd have to get rides from our older friends with our equipment. And then once we got our own cars, we could be a little more mobile. But again, you could play regularly where I grew up in Ventura. There was a bar down by the beach. People who are familiar with that part of the coast, there's the Ventura Pier, and at the base of the pier was a restaurant called Charlie's, and they just had music probably 7 nights a week.
Wow.
So, and that's where Toad got their start. Like so many great bands would just be there on a Wednesday night with 3 people, eating dinner, and then a bunch of like high school kids sitting outside that was the thing. It had the huge windows, so you could have like 50 people out in this hallway by the beach looking through the window because we weren't old enough to get into the club, but it was like you were at the show.
That's
so
amazing.
That there'd be more people outside the venue than inside. I don't know many other places like that.
What a cool, that's just describing that sounds cool because it's like, you're not old enough to get there, but you're still part of the show. You're still part of the
100%. Yeah. And you learned every different way to get in. You'd carry the drummer's gear in and then try to hide out. Yeah, you get it. And it was also the time when this was the same for Santa Barbara. I moved to Santa Barbara shortly after that. But we all had fake IDs. We weren't doing anything bad. We were just there to watch music. And I just think it's funny because there's some legendary venues, especially in Santa Barbara, where I could have used your ID and they would have let me in. Like you didn't have to look anything like the person, and your ID had expired 10 years before.
That's
and they're
hysterical.
like, get in here. And obviously now they'd get sued or something, but it was a great time when you were a music fan. That was all we cared about was music, was surfing and music. That was my life.
That's awesome, man. Well, bring me through the beginning of Black Eyed Sceva. Such a, I don't know how to describe it. You guys were always just a different band from that came out at the time. And I thought you were so good at songwriting, so talented. Bring me through the beginning of that band, how the band name came about and just the beginning of the band.
Yeah, thank you. So my high school band, with that great songwriter I was telling you about, we moved from Ventura to Santa Barbara, and we lived in this little house off of the main drag. It's called State Street in Santa Barbara. And at that time, it's where all the musical venues were. You could walk up and down State Street 7 nights a week and just hear great music. And every band you can think of would stop through there. So you think of like the Foo Fighters now, their guitar player, Chris Shiflett.
Yeah.
He'll tell the story about he played a gig with Dave Grohl's band before Nirvana. I think it was in Santa Barbara. But anyway, Chris Shiflett was a famous Santa Barbara guitar player. But when Dave Grohl was looking for another guitarist, he remembered Chris Shiflett from back in the day, and that's how he got in the band. So it's like there was this just wonderful, there were so many guys of that caliber and gals in Santa Barbara. And I moved into this little house, maybe 2 blocks off the main drag, with 3 other musicians. I was 18 and they were all like 22, 23 years old. And those guys were incredible musicians. So that's where, after gigs, the bands would all come over to that house. So it might be 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning. We had a drum set in the living room, guitars, just all this stuff. And all these people would hang out there. So that's where Toad the Wet Sprocket was there all the time in the, just hanging out in the living room. I was a kid, I was still a teenager, and these guys were all older than me. So it was just being marinating in this music. It was great. So that band, when we moved to Santa Barbara, our drummer, he went to school. I can't remember what happened with our drummer. So we needed a drummer. And the funny thing is, Model Engine's drummer was a guy, Eric Herzog.
Okay.
He came and tried out for our band. And Eric was a really good producer. So we had all these songs that we were playing in clubs. And he's like, man, you need to change this. This is too long or whatever. So he came and rearranged our songs. And we're like, gosh, this guy's kind of got an attitude. He's kind of telling us we're not pulling it off. And he ended up being right. But the funny thing is he played 3 rehearsals with us. And he says, man, this is cool, but I really want to get into Christian music. He said, I don't want to play I don't want to be in this scene that you guys are in. I'm going to go this other direction. We're like, oh gosh, this guy was super, super cool.
Yeah.
And so he leaves after 3 rehearsals. And then one of our friends says, hey, I got this great drummer. There's a school in Santa Barbara called Westmont College. It's a Christian college. So you go this, and everybody's like a freshman or a sophomore. Everybody's just new showing up. So we go and meet this guy, Brent Nims, who is Black Eyed Sceva's drummer. So he comes in and plays in that band, which was called the Trouble Stones. That was my high school band, the Trouble Stones.
Nice.
So we play a little bit, and then Brent and I are like, let's go do our own thing. So Brent and I leave. I have a drummer. And then it's me, the guitar player. I don't sing at this time. I have no singing background whatsoever. So one of our friends from this really cool, we weren't going to this church yet. One of my friends from high school says, hey, I'm going to this cool church in Santa Barbara, and you got to meet the bass player. So it's me and Brent, the drummer, and we're rolling our eyes some guy playing bass at church is going to be able to keep up with us. We got some weird time signatures and everything. So we go to this church and we're watching this guy play bass, and it's just simple songs. We're like, this he's cool. So let's go say hi to him. And it's Brad McCarter, who's my number one person in the entire world. My favorite person on earth is Brad McCarter. So that's where I met him. We went over to his house. We're in his bedroom. We were like, here's some ideas, and we're trying to throw some stuff at him. And he's just like, what? He's just like, whatever. And I had lived at that time, I was living with a super good bass player. And he always told me, one of the ways you can tell a good bass player is whether or not they can play Rio by Duran Duran.
Oh, yeah.
And play it the right way. And I'm like, what's that mean? I'd never paid attention to the bass line. Obviously, it's incredible. So my roommate at the time could play it. So sure enough, Brad just boom, and he busts out Rio, and we're like, "This is our dude." Yeah, so we got Brad, and then we had a bunch of songs, and then we went looking for a singer. So we tried out all these singers, and what was going on was we'd be in our rehearsal space, and I had written all these songs, but I don't sing. So I would say it kind of goes like this. This is what I'm thinking, and I had the lyrics. So they're reading lyric sheets and singing. They would, and Brad and Brent finally said, "You're singing these songs, trying to show the singer how they go. Why don't you just sing them?"
Wow.
And I was like, man, I don't. You know how when you hear your voice back, it always sounds funny. So we just went for it, and that was it. So I had no background. I had a long guitar background by that time, but zero singing. I knew nothing about like taking care of your throat or proper warm up. I just like, all right, rock and roll.
Did that change your mind about like, you're just playing music and that's already hard enough as it is, but now you're singing and you're thinking and you're having to double duty it.
100%. So that's why if we had more time and got really deep into, you could tell that I already had these intricate guitar parts, and then I had to figure out how to sing over them at the same time. So it made for some funny cadences. And, people used to laugh at Black Eyed Sceva. They're like, you have an interesting way of pronouncing words. If it's a 3-syllable word, I'll stretch it over like 20 seconds because I'm waiting for my hands to stop moving on the guitar so I could think.
That's hilarious.
So I could sing and play at the same time. So that was it. And 3-piece bands were always what I loved, but we never had a singer. I couldn't sing back in the day. But that's why like Husker Du, those bands. Another favorite band of mine was Fire Hose, like these 3-piece bands. So it was so cool to get Brad and Brent. And then you had to fill up space as a 3-piece. So it changed my guitar playing a bit, which I still have to this day, of just filling space with unique chords.
Yeah.
And then I was fortunate with Brad. I still play with Brad today. He just gets my quirks. He just understands like, okay, we don't have the world's best singer. Brad actually sings way better than I do. Brad has this like beautiful,
wow,
like just this beautiful voice. And so he's always there to catch me and make up for my weaknesses in both guitar playing and singing. So that was it. Black Eyed Sceva was off. We had like 5 different names. You know how it is when bands are starting out. So I still have flyers from our Santa Barbara shows where we just had all these different names. And then we settled on Black Eyed Sceva from that 7 Sons of Sceva story in the Bible. And then that stuck.
That's cool, man. It definitely stood out. The name stood out for sure. And were you guys primarily wanting to be a Christian band? Or I know you said that your previous drummer had left because you wanted to do that. Like, was that kind of the goal, or were you just wanting to write good tunes? And
all my songs, when I was in high school, my songs would be like about, fixing my bicycle or something. And I'm just writing about life. And then as I started, understanding this relationship, I was on the beginning of my journey of
faith.
Experiencing, just faith, but just, like Jesus, what's this all about? An interesting fact is I read the Bible cover to cover before I was a like kind of, I guess I was I read it as a literary work. So that's kind of unusual. I think it took me like 2 years when I was a teenager. I read it from cover to cover as a literary work. And so I was a little bit versed in the Bible. I grew up Catholic, so you'll hear some of those references in the music. But that was, you just went to church. I didn't really have a spiritual connection. So the songs just kind of morphed into these Christian-based songs because that's what I was going through.
Sure.
That's what else am I going to write about?
Sure.
So it was a sweet beginning, and I couldn't have had 2 better people to be with for that. And we had our journey as a band was a little bit different because we were doing our complete own thing. We were really busy playing shows without any support whatsoever. So we were getting a little bit of buzz going.
Yeah.
Just playing shows up and down the California coast.
That's awesome. Well, how did 5 Minute Walk come into the picture? I mean, obviously, you're playing these shows and gigging up the coast, and of course, a record label comes around. Was that the only label interested, or like, kind of bring me through that?
No, I think it was Rex, if I remember right. Definitely Tooth and Nail.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Brandon cornered me somewhere. We were in LA, like, and he was like, yeah, he was walking around. He always had his backpack on. He always had, and I don't know what was it, probably like CDs and stuff in there. But he was like, hey, so there was a little bit of a buzz going. I think because we were playing in Orange County more, and Orange County was such a great place. So we didn't know anything about these labels. We also had a connection through our club playing. We had an A&R guy from like Epic or so, like something that we didn't even have a chance at. But he gave us some. He was the A&R guy for some really big bands, and he ended up giving us a couple pointers. So it was like we had a little bit of help on how this record stuff works.
Yeah.
And we had watched Toad. We had watched Toad, What Sprocket, go from playing in backyards to having a number one hit within a relatively short amount of time. So we were able to learn a bunch from that also. So we didn't know anything about this Christian market. And then Mikey Bridges, who I went to junior high and high school with, he got a hold of Frank Tate and said, you got to check out this band. And so Mikey is the reason we got signed. We just liked Frank. We liked Frank. We went up to his house in the Bay Area of San Francisco. And my all-time favorite female singer is Maria McKee. So I if you see the Black Eyed Sceva photos, one of my guitars has a picture of her on it, and it's been on there since 1992, and it's still on there today. But we go up to Frank's house, and he's playing Maria McKee when we walk in the house, and I'm like,
"This is it.
All right, I like this dude." And that was it. And we couldn't have been better met with Frank. He's a dear friend to this day. Did you guys have him on the?
No,
podcast?
I think maybe he was on the Pickle Home Companion, but that's a fantastic episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So Frank, he's just an amazing person, but we wouldn't have had that without Mikey.
Yeah. Love Mikey. Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. I was very grateful for him.
That's awesome, man. Well, obviously you signed a 5 Minute Walk. You mentioned having a buzz, and I do feel like you guys kind of hit the ground running pretty hard in that aspect. Bring me through the first record, Way Before the Flood. You sign, you start recording the record. Kind of bring me through the recording of that. Your thoughts, memories from that time.
We had a 4-song demo that we recorded locally on like a 16 track. That's what got the buzz going. We had something we could send to people. And then we were fortunate to get Bruce Winter. He was totally into producing us. We knew nothing about, this is back when you had like a Tascam 4-track or something like that. So then we go into this great studio, and we had a little bit of a budget from Frank, and we have this wonderful musician in Bruce Winter to be our producer. And we had all the songs. All we did 5 days a week was either gig or rehearse. And I mean, we were just so busy playing music every day. So you go in the studio and you're ready to go. There's no writing. We've never written anything in the studio. The songs are complete. You go in the studio, it's complete.
Yeah.
I mentioned that band Firehose a couple minutes ago. One of the fun things about their albums is each album, when you open it up, it'll say recorded in 23 hours. It'll say how many hours it took, because they just went in,
ripped it,
just show up and blow up. And so we play everything live. And I think that gave the album a good feel, because the time, we're not playing to a click, because we're playing live. So if you were trying to do overdubs or something, we didn't play to a click on the Black Eyed Sceva albums. So they're kind of all over the place, because that's how it was live.
Yeah.
And it was great. So that was an incredible experience. We were at a really nice studio for that in Santa Barbara.
Oh, awesome.
And we had access everybody was so helpful in that town. So any gear that you needed, it would just show up.
Wow.
It would just be at this, like Black Eyed Sceva needs something. Yeah, here's my buddy's, here's a cello player. Here just people would just show up and
That's
they wanted
awesome.
to pitch in. It was great. So that was we made the album and then we went on the road. If we were one of the, I don't know many bands that played more shows than we did.
I believe that.
those years. Yeah. Cause we were,
always on
I
the
can
road.
look, we're always on the road. We're doing like 250 shows in a busy year. And it was great. And Frank Tate is the master of putting these tours together. If you wanted to work, so we'd play 28 days a month, come home for 2 days or maybe 4 days. Like we'd have 2 days, then 2 days beginning next month, then go out 28 days. And you're playing every night because Frank would be able to find a club in Iowa on a Wednesday night. And there might only be 10 people there, but at least you're making gas money.
Sure.
And we had a lot of bands around us who were like kind of too good for that. It'd be like, no, we're just going to play the weekend gigs. It's like, fine, we're like writing songs during sound check, and it was really like we're really productive, and we loved hanging out with each other. We didn't have a roadie then. It was just the three of us in a van with no air conditioning, and it was an amazing experience.
Let me ask you real quick. Yeah. What did you think about the record when you heard it, when it was completed then, and what do you think about it now?
Yeah, we loved it when it was completed because we just felt like we had this good studio. Bruce was such a wonderful person to work with. I don't know anything about the technical aspects of making an album. My brain just doesn't work that way. Mm. So a good producer, he's part psychologist, part technician, magician. So Bruce was really good at that. And I knew nothing about singing still because I wasn't supposed to be the singer.
Sure.
So Bruce is a wonderful singer. So he would be like, hey, have you ever thought of this? And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing, So we learned a lot from that experience. Then you're figuring out mastering and
mixing,
distribution and all that stuff. That was all new to us, but we were a solid band who really liked each other. We all lived together. That was a good foundation to have because obviously there were a lot of bands around us that just blew up. They like kind of flamed out.
Do you love the record looking back on it?
I'm proud of it. It represents a time in my life where to me, it's like a nice historical thing to go back and say, yeah, that's where I was at. Those songs represent where I was at because I wasn't writing about fast cars and chicks. I was writing about like what was going on in my brain at the time. So it's a nice historical thing to look back at. And the music, it's like it's funky. It's definitely original. I don't mean funky like Rick James funky. I mean like I never had guitar lessons, so there's like weird chords, and I'm proud of that. Yeah. And I think Brad and Brent are awesome players. So I back it.
Hey, this is Jeremy with the Rumors Are True podcast. Are you looking to spice up your meals with something real? Introducing Voyager Hot Sauce. Born in Seattle, rooted in the heart of Jalisco, Mexico, and built on community, quality, and excellence. Crafted in fresh small batches with agave nectar for the perfect sweet heat. Voyager is more than just a hot sauce. It's a symbol of gathering, authentic connection, and flavor that brings people together. Whether it's tacos, eggs, pizza, or cocktails, Voyager goes on everything. Head over to VoyagerHotSauce.com to hear their story, explore recipes, and place your order today. You mentioned touring a ton, and I remember, just even like in reading HM Magazine or whatever, it'd be like you're always on the road. And I got to see you guys at Murray Hill Theater multiple times, probably at least 2 to 3 times.
Great place.
Yes, amazing venue. Still open, 30 years this past year. And Tony, incredible
Yes,
individual.
you guys,
Yeah.
that is amazing that you've had that in your community for so long, and you'll get a kick out of this. So I hear about bands these days like getting all their gear stolen. Like it's such a different thing these days. And we were just so fortunate back then because we're leaving our van out in some hotel parking lot every night. It's not like it was a secure vehicle. It was an old YMCA van. Like, you just pull the handle, the door opens. So the only place we ever got robbed was Jacksonville. And it was
I've
Murray
had
Hill.
3 other people say that on this podcast.
Yeah. So, and when the police came, they were like, we're going to tell you exactly what happened. They said, somebody came up to you and asked you for money. We're like, yeah. And then they watched us walk to dinner. Like some guy came up and say, hey, do you have any money? And whatever happened. And then we walk off to dinner, and then they broke into the van. And, but we had all the equipment. You know what? I'll have to ask Brad. We might have loaded in at Murray Hill already. So maybe the gear was there. But the problem was we had everything was cash back then.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a bank bag that we carried our money until we could get to the next bank, like Bank of America, whatever it was, and then deposit it. So we had $8,000 or $10,000. So you got to remember, this is like 1994.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money for our little band. And so we were needing to get to a bank to deposit that money. So Brad was always the keeper. He's the most financially wise of us. So he was always taking care of that stuff. So he had the money bag in his backpack, and his backpack was under the seat of the van. So the first thing we did when we get back to the van and realize we've been robbed is look under that seat. And sure enough, his backpack is gone. We're just going. So we're like, all our money's gone. Like, oh no, this is such a terrible thing. So the police are there. We're sitting there. So a long time goes by. Brad's backpack was open when he stuck it under the seat. When the thieves grabbed it, the money bag fell out.
Oh my gosh. That's a grace of God, is what that is.
So after the police take their part, there was nothing they could do. They said at that time in Jacksonville, that was just happening all the time. So we're like, oh man, this is such a bummer. So it's like an hour later, somebody's like, what's this under like the other seat? And it was all our money. So that's our funny Jacksonville, Murray Hill.
That's hysterical. Story. I love that. Yes. Like I said, there's been other people that have said that about Jacksonville. So I apologize on behalf of Jacksonville, because we're not all like that. But yes, dude, it's crazy to have a venue still open that's been monumental in a lot of people's lives. It's really cool. I still go there every once in a while. And yeah, man, that's awesome. Sweet. Well, let's talk about the next record. 5 years, 5,000 Miles Davis.
5 years, 50,000. 5 years. 50,000 Miles Davis, because there was this game back then that my friends had of trying to combine words with famous people. So it'd be like Born Again Christian Slater, Drivers Ed McMahon. There was all these like funny like word plays. So we did 5 years, 50,000 Miles Davis. And that was, we were so busy on the road, we needed something. It's like, hey, you guys, you need another product, for the record.
Was it pretty quick after the other one?
I don't know. I can't remember. I have to look at the dates, but we were just so busy. We were always on the road. So there wasn't like a lot of time. So that's why half that album is live, because they just record a live show. And then we had a couple songs we could throw on there. The record label needs product.
Sure.
You can't wait like 10 years between albums. So we said, we'll do this EP and then we'll do a real album when we get a chance to sit down. So we recorded that. Bruce Winter came in again, and we recorded that mostly at his house. And the funny thing is, if you listen to the song Ryan's Driveway on that album, maybe Brad can hear it. I can hear it, that there's something different with my voice. So imagine I'm sitting in a bedroom at Bruce's house. Bruce is sitting on the bed with like the 16 track or whatever we're recording on. I'm just wearing headphones. Bruce and I are wearing headphones, and I'm singing into a mic. So you can't hear any music. I'm just like you and I talking right now. I'm singing. But Glenn Phillips is sitting on in a chair on the bed, and he's just looking at me. He doesn't have headphones on. So he's just listening to me sing a cappella. And I was like, oh, come on. So I can hear it to this day. I laugh when I hear that song, because you can tell I'm nervous
I bet.
nervous singing that song because I'm like, okay, this is a really funny song. You've never heard it before, and you just hear me
Just
talking about the situation that song's about. So I just think that's super funny.
that is awesome. I mean, that's nerve wracking to think about having somebody like that just watching
Yeah.
you bare your soul in front of everyone.
Totally. It has no concept of like, ever hearing the song before. It's just like, what the heck?
That's
So
hysterical.
that was really funny.
Well, recording with Bruce again. You mentioned doing the EP and then the rest live. How do you think that record turned out overall? And you, like you mentioned, the label was wanting the product, obviously.
Yeah, it was great because the songs are really heartfelt. The recording quality, up to what we would do today, just in our bedroom with our modern, digital stuff would be much better. But there's just heart to it.
Yeah.
There's just a vibe to those Black Eyed Sceva albums that I dig. And I'm hearing to this day, this is what's so crazy is we were just talking about the song Ryan's Driveway that has a riff that's hard for people to figure out, but it's a catchy riff. To this day, people track me down on Instagram or wherever and say, how do you play that riff? And it's like, I wrote that in high school. And I just think that's so cool that people will hear that. And there's probably 2 people in the United States that listen to that song this week. But some guitar player will hear it and go, that's a catchy riff, but I can't figure out how to play it because it's weird.
That's awesome.
And they always want to know what tuning it's in. It's in standard tuning, but it's just weird playing. So I think that's really sweet that you can have that all these years
Absolutely,
later.
Man. When this record came out, you hit the road again, I assume, pretty heavily.
Yep. Then we were touring hard. Yeah.
And you mentioned Toad quite a few times. Did you guys ever get to play with Toad at all or open for
No.
Toad?
No, maybe my back in high school, the other, before Black Eyed Sceva, because we'd be at the same places. And yeah, I mean, I saw them at backyard birthday parties. They're just good guys.
Yeah.
And they're so helpful
Yeah.
to the Santa Barbara community and having Bruce. So if you go look on YouTube and watch Toad playing on the Tonight Show or Jay Leno, whatever those shows were, Conan, whatever, you'll always see Bruce. Bruce is always in the background playing the organ. So just having those guys were cool anyway, but the fact that we were working with Bruce, we got any equipment, any of the cool gear that they had. They were just so generous with helping us. And those guys, you think of them as this, I don't know what people term them now. We always called them kind of a college rock band, but they shred.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those guys are players.
Yeah.
So that when they're playing their pretty songs, it's like, those are beautiful songs, but you see those guys when they're being funny and they're like jamming.
Yeah.
It's like
they rip. Oh yeah. Absolutely. They're one of my favorite bands for real. Like I
love that. I love that.
Pulsenia is one of my favorite records.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal. I mean, they're all good, but that's the one that I'm just like, it's flawless to me.
I saw them last year on I think it was the first night of the tour that they were doing, and it was just like,
they're incredible live.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're so good.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. You wind up obviously hitting the road like we talked about, kind of hitting it hard, and then you wind up changing the name to Model Engine. Kind of bring me through what the concept of that was, why, and of course you had a member change as well. So kind of bring me through that.
So we were on the road for several years, and it was a grind. We loved it, but it was a grind, and something was going on. The record label was growing fast. Frank Tate will tell you this too, that we were our own. We didn't need any babysitting. You tell us to be at Murray Hill Theater in 2 days. We'll be there. We'll take turns. 2 guys will be sleeping in the van, 1 guy driving. We'll just be there. And there weren't a lot of bands that could do that. So I was very fortunate to have these 2 great guys you could do that with. So we were, I think, kind of burning out as Black Eyed Sceva, and we kind of had some ideas going different directions. And I can't remember exactly what the circumstances were because it was so long ago, but there was some turmoil with the record label. because they were growing so fast. So they're getting these bands and they're trying to send you out on the road with bands that just don't make any sense. You know, it's like we're this 3-piece like college rock band and we're playing with like a junior high pep rally band or something, but it's like you got to do this label showcase. It's like so that was quirky. So there was some friction going on with that. And then the name was a constant problem.
I believe it.
You know, we're going to Europe, we're going all these, I mean, it just was a constant problem. So we said, we got to change our name. And what if we add a 4th member? And then in the process of that, and we needed an album. We had that 5 Years, 50,000 Miles Davis EP. We needed an album. You can't just like, but we never were home. So we're working on songs like during sound check. So we reconfigured Eric Herzog, the drummer I mentioned at the beginning of this. That came full circle. He was on drums. John Askew, who is a local fantastic guitar player and singer, we got him in the band, and we had these songs. We didn't have all the songs in the album yet, but we hit the road as a 4-piece. So we're like the best Black Eyed Sceva cover band at that time. So we're playing some Black Eyed Sceva stuff, then playing the new stuff. And we were touring a ton with Sixpence at the time.
Nice.
So yeah, Sixpence None the Richer. And they were riding it hard also. Like they were really working hard, and it was taking a toll on them. They were getting beat up, and we were playing tons of shows together, and they were working on whatever their hit album. I just can't think of the names right now.
Isn't it self-titled? I think it's self-titled.
Maybe that's what it is. But I mean, everybody knows that album. I just can't think of it. Yeah. But this was a wild time because you have these incredibly talented people. They're not making any money. You're away from, you have responsibilities. Sure. We didn't have any we weren't married. We were just out like, I think we all lived in this giant house together. And I think my rent was like $300 a month, to live in like the most beautiful place in Santa Barbara and all this stuff. So other people had actual like responsibilities. So they either needed to make this work or stop playing music. So I think Sixpence they were kind of getting to the end of the road, and it's like, they're so talented. And then I remember we were somewhere, Frank Tate came in, gave them a pep talk, was like, he had nothing. He's just friends with them. He's not their label or anything. And he just said, I think you're working on stuff that's going to do something. And they pushed through this like tough time when a lot of bands would have just thrown in the towel, and then it was off to the races. So we went from like sleeping in the vans together, like literally we had 2 vans, and we would just switch because you'd get tired of talking to the same people. I don't even know if you got tired. You just wanted to talk to somebody else. So we'd have Lee and Matt sometimes, and we're all going to these shows. So I just remember all of a sudden, like, it seemed like Michael W. Smith was sending his Learjet to pick them up. It's like, wait a minute. So we were just kind of roughing it out at the Knights Inn on, I-70. And all of a sudden it's like, because we'd always show up to the gigs together, and all of a sudden they were like flying to gigs, and we're like, something's going on. And then it just went bonkers from there. So we're forever grateful. You can't have, those were different band members at that time.
Yeah.
JJ Palencios was their bass player. That guy's from another planet with his playing. So yeah, it was just a great time. And Matt used to play with Black Eyed Sceva all the time. We have cello parts on several Black Eyed Sceva songs. So Matt would play those with us, which was really sweet. So he would sit in and then play his Sixpence gig also. But you just couldn't have. I think that was a reason we were able to survive, is because we were surrounded by these wonderful people.
Absolutely, man. That's cool. Well, how did you guys decide on the Model Engine name, and kind of bring me through the Lean Years Tradition record, kind of how that came to?
Yeah, we were practicing. Eric Herzog, our drummer, owned the North American Van Lines franchise in Santa Barbara. Like if you moved across the country,
Yeah.
they would store your stuff at this giant warehouse. So he actually owned that for a short time, which
Wow.
was way too much responsibility for, we were like in our 20s. And he was making all this money and all this stuff, but we would practice at his warehouse. He had all this warehouse space. So he had a big dry erase board. And each time we'd come in for rehearsal, we'd put names, our different names on there. And somehow we'd find a name we liked. We're like, yeah, that's really cool. And then, you sit on it for a day. It's like, no, that sounds too much like this or whatever. So it ended up being Model Engine. We all just said we dig that the way it sounds. But then people would call us Model Train, like they couldn't, even that was a problem. So we changed the band. We were still in the middle of a tour with Sixpence because we were on the road with them a lot for maybe a year or two. And then so we just went back out, and Sixpence was gaining in popularity. So we were opening, and people remembered Black Eyed Sceva. This was in the early days of an electronic mailing list. Mm-hmm. So there was no email.
Sure.
And the few people that had email would be like Doug Van Pelt, it would be like, it'd be like D_U70. It was like it was like you were typing code to get somebody's email address. So you were doing everything with postcards. Like we're licking stamps at home. The 2 days a month we're home, we're sending out, 2,000 postcards for our next gigs. So we hit the road as Model Engine. We had a great reception.
Yeah.
And then that took it up a level to where more like A&R people were looking at us.
Oh, nice.
So we were really hitting our stride. So a huge deal back then that like none of our peers got was we were invited to South by Southwest.
Oh, wow.
And so we played South by Southwest when it was all just music, it wasn't like it wasn't so much like art stuff as it is now. That was an incredible thing to be able to do. And then in the Boston area, their version of South by Southwest is called NEMO, NEMO.
Okay.
So that was the South by Southwest of the Northeast.
Okay.
So we got invited to that, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we're getting this like
momentum,
mainstream. Yeah. And also the Model Engine album, Frank really pulled off a big one, is Warner Brothers, Elektra, and Atlantic Records combined to form a company called WEA, WEA, for distribution. So the Model Engine album got picked up by WEA.
Wow.
So any store that you went into, I remember I was driving down the road. It was back when Borders bookstores were kind of new. And I said, I'm just gonna pull over at this random Borders wherever I was. And sure enough, it had the little like Model Engine, it had the little display and everything. And so we had incredible distribution for that album. There was so much great momentum, but at the same time, 5 Minute Walk was about to melt down because it was just too much. So they had that band, the W's, that was just blowing up.
Yeah, and Five Iron.
And then Five Iron.
Yeah.
Five Iron, who they tell the story differently. I have a picture of the what do you call it at the gig? The sign that shows what bands are going to play. The marquee, marquee. They opened for us. I think it's their first show they ever played. They deny that, but they weren't signed by 5 Minute Walk yet. And Dime Store Profits and us were playing this gig, and Five Iron opened, and they're like kids. I mean, they were like kids, and they're just the most lovable, wonderful people. So Masaki from Dime Store Profits, he said, Frank, like, you got to sign these guys. And then it was off to the races. But the ska thing just took over. So the label only has so much bandwidth. So us, Dime Store, there's that fantastic band on the label, Drive.
Great band.
Great band. And Keith, the drummer from Drive, he's for the last 10 years or more, he plays drums with me and Brad for the music we make now. Yeah. Very so cool. Keith from Drive is a dear friend and a fantastic drummer. I think he plays guitar better than I do, but he's very private about his guitar playing. Anyway, so Frank I think was getting ready to have a nervous breakdown because there was just too much stuff. So we got booted from the label. We got dropped right in the middle of like all we'd been working for. So all of a sudden we don't have a label, and
what was that like?
It sucked.
Yeah.
But we had started as a scrappy club band. So we had that in our DNA from, Brad and I going way back. So it was like, we'll do it on our own. So I think we played Nemo. This band, they're kind of a legendary Northeast band. They're called Big Wreck.
Okay.
They opened for us, and they're like all Berklee School of Music musicians. It was just like, what the heck? Yeah, just amazing. And then but we went there with no label support. But I've told this story before, but it was just funny because we're playing the club, and then next door to us at Nemo, Aerosmith is playing at the same time. Like we stopped playing and you could hear Aerosmith. I wanted it to be like that Run DMC video where Aerosmith comes through the wall, because they were like on the other side of the wall from where we were playing. So it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then we play the show. People are excited. We have no support.
Yeah.
We had to go put a little tour together of California to pay for our airfare and all our travel expenses. So we were able to do that. We just went back to our old ways. I don't know how many bands were able to pull that off at the time. We just got on the phone and said, hey, we need to set up a couple gigs to get the money. And we did it. So then Eric, our drummer, had a lot of other opportunities.
Sure.
So you might remember when Toad split up, there were two bands. It was Glenn Phillips by himself.
Okay.
And then Lapdog Yeah, Eric was the drummer for both those bands. So Eric had other stuff going on. So we lose our record deal. It's like we can't keep him interested. So that was
kind of the end.
That was kind of the end.
What was that like putting that down? I know you had been doing it pretty relentlessly for the last
it's like
years.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, your dog dying. It's like, wait, this is my whole...
Your identity. It's your identity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what do we do now? We have to go get regular jobs. So I'll speed the story up, is I don't know how many months later, Frank Tate says, I made a huge mistake. You guys are back on the label.
Oh, wow.
So we're off the label. Our career is done. And then all of a sudden we're back on, and he goes, we need to get this album remixed. So then we go to LA and remix with Jim Scott, who one of the best sounding albums I've ever heard is Tom Petty's Wildflowers album.
Record.
Yeah, so Jim Scott's the engineer on that, but he was the guy that did all the he was Rick Rubin's engineer for years. So, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all those albums that have like this really clear, great sound. That's all Jim Scott engineering that stuff. So we end up in the studio with him, which is big boy stuff. This is like, wait, what? So all of a sudden we went from going 100 miles an hour to 0, and we're trying to figure out what to do with our life. And then all of a sudden we're back 100 miles an hour again. So we got that album remixed, and then they dropped us again. The label dropped us.
So
that album never got...
insane.
Yeah, it never got mastered. So that's why it was a big deal when we found those tapes last year, the year before, and got them mastered. And now the remixes have been released. But Frank spent a bunch of money on us to go remix that thing at this incredible studio in LA, legendary studio, where the Wrecking Crew used to play. The famous, made 10,000 albums there. And we got dropped, and that was the end of that. So Brad and I trying to figure out what to do, so we both went into aviation.
Oh no, that's so crazy. You went from not making much money to probably making a lot more money. So
decision. Yeah, it was great. It's all good, and the fact that I still get to play music with Brad, and then we have Keith on drums. I just keep getting blessed with these really stellar humans
That's
to make
so cool.
music with, whether it was Brent, Brad, Eric, John Askew, who played with us guitar. It's just what a blessing.
Yeah, man. Well, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on the legacy and the influence you guys as a band had on not only the Christian market, but just kind of your area and overall, and just people over the years that have really listened to you and just been a part of their lives?
I think that the coolest thing has been the young people who discover it. I have no idea how they were finding these old CDs. They'll send me it used to be letters. People used to somehow figure out my address back in the day and send me letters, but now it's all just email or Instagram. But I just got a one from a 16-year-old young man the other day saying, "Hey, I just discovered your music online, and these are my favorite songs." And to me, that says it still matters to some people. We're proud of it. There's nothing about that music that we don't back today. There's no songs that make us cringe or anything like that. Yeah, I just feel super blessed that I was able to express myself at that time in my life, and then it has resonated with people to this day.
Absolutely, man. Reunion, new record, anything maybe in the works? Have you talked about it?
Well, Brad, Keith, and I would love to properly record all these songs that we have. It's just, I think we might have talked about this when you were leading our panel. There's nothing more that Brad, Keith, and I like than making music together. But there are a number of things that we like just as much.
Sure.
So it's just a matter of I don't have kids. Those guys have the most beautiful kids, and they're finding, they're doing the proper thing of being great dads, great husbands. And when the timing is right, we'll get down to putting these songs. They're in rough recording stages now, because you got to just have the ideas down like a demo. But we would love to properly record those, and we know who to get to come in and handle the recording. And these days it's so much easier with all the digital equipment. So we look forward to being able to do that. We would love to be able to get these songs out there.
Well, you should. I think it'd be cool. It'd be awesome.
I appreciate that. And then as far as playing gigs, that's just a whole different level of commitment. But I one of my vehicles is I have a Sprinter van, which would be perfect for touring. So I just wait. Like I'm here waiting for Brad prepared. And Keith. I'm ready to hit the road, staying in shape, still fitting my leather pants. I'm kidding. I don't wear leather pants, but we're ready to go. I got fresh strings on the guitar. So when Brad and Keith give me the thumbs up.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Let me ask you, what's your favorite song you've ever written, and what's the record you're most proud of?
Yeah, I think that the Model Engine album, just because that was a culmination of all we learned. That was our last album. So it was everything that we had learned going into that. And we had so much support. Great musicians came in and helped us out on that. Great experience. There's a song, probably a song I get the most asked about to this day, is a song on there called Suture. And I think Brad and I would say that that's probably our, if we had to pick a favorite song, we like that. And that's again, I did an interview a couple weeks ago where we were talking about playing the songs. That's the only song I can't remember how to play. So everything in our catalog, I could sit down and play it for you right now. That song, it's in a weird tuning. That it was the only song I ever did it in that tuning, and I didn't write down what it was. So, and we didn't play it live. So it wasn't like I was playing, it was one of the only songs we didn't play live. So isn't that funny? I can't remember how I tuned the guitar, and those chords are really weird. And it's just a really great song. And the chorus to it, for those people listening to this who are songwriters, they'll get a kick out of this. The cool thing to do back when we had cassette players or CD players in our car, you'd record something at home, just the music. Then you just drive around during your day and you're thinking of lyrics in your head. Like you have 90% of the song done, but you need like a couple of phrases to put it together. So I could not finish the chorus to that song. And I was in this town next to Santa Barbara called Montecito. I was going to the grocery store, and there's this big dip. It's still there to this day, pulling into the parking lot. This was 30 years ago. And it's really a jarring, so I hit this dip. It was like, whoa, I was going way too fast into this parking lot, bottomed out my truck, and the lyric popped in my head. I always remember.
That's amazing.
It completed the song. So every time I'm in Montecito and I drive into that parking lot, I go, this is where that song came together, cool. on this dip.
That's incredible. Well, Jeremy, I know you can't predict the future, but what do you think the future looks like for you overall?
I'm just blessed to have a wonderful career after music, and I'm blessed that I get to play music every day. I mean, I still have, my faculties about me where I can continue to express myself, even if it's just the birds in my backyard that are hearing it. But it's what a blessing that is. So I just see, I'm going to continue on this road. My focus these days in my life is my volunteer activities. I own a small business. I'm going to continue to run that. I don't know that I have a music future other than what I do right now.
Sure.
There's not, it would be at this stage, it would be irresponsible for all of us. We all have great careers, me, Brad, and Keith. So it'd be kind of funny to say, no, we're ditching that.
$5 per diem per day.
Totally. Which would be really fun. But we're all kind of hitting the strides at this age where we're like at our maximum. Our careers are all really firing on all cylinders, And I mean, I've got to be 20 years older than you, so you've got a long way to go, whippersnapper.
Yes, I'm on the way. My body doesn't feel that way, but yes.
Right. So I hope that makes sense. It's just we're very blessed to be at this time of life.
Absolutely. Well, Jeremy, I've super enjoyed this conversation. Really, really appreciate you hanging out with me. And it was really cool to see you at TomCon a couple months ago and get to know you just a little bit and, peek behind the curtain a little. And it's just super honored that you give me your time today. And thank you so much for all the music over the years. It's really influenced not only myself, but a ton of people maybe who listen to this podcast, and just overall just really appreciate what you've been, able to give to us and just be a part of our lives. So I really appreciate you hanging out with me, man.
We are so blessed and grateful for you doing this. I mean, and like I said, the episodes I've listened to previous to this, just what a great thing that you're doing, and it means a lot to us. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. That's so kind. Hey, listener, thank you so much for tuning in again and again. I really appreciate it, guys. It's been really cool to be on this journey with you guys. So thank you for listening week in and week out. If you'd like to add me on Instagram and Facebook, at The Rumors Are TrueCast. If you'd like to like and subscribe, you know the drill. So thank you again for listening week in and week out. Thank you to Jeremy Post. Awesome conversation. So honored to have you on the podcast to hear about your journey. It's really cool to get to know you over the last couple of months and be able to talk to you at TomCon and whatnot. So thank you again to Jeremy Post. Got some incredible artists on the horizon, guys, and you know it. Nostalgia is still a heck of a drug. The podcast is produced by Wesley Hill, artwork by Jared Chase Bowser, and music by Brian Jaron. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend, producer, and man of many talents, Brian Jaron.